Okay, these are Mrs. Beg's Constitution notes. There are 3 levels of government. The highest is the federal, which means it's national, it's the entire country. And then your state government, for us it would be Illinois, and then the local government, like the county where you live or the city where you live. Obviously, like Elmhurst. The Constitution begins with the preamble. We have studied the preamble before. It is basically the goals that we have for the Constitution. Here are the 3 main parts of the Constitution. Again, there's the preamble, which is in the middle. And then you have 7 articles. The first 3 are the branches of government, branches in the United States Constitution: legislative, executive, and judicial. And then on the right, you have amendments. 1st through 10 are our Bill of Rights. And up to 27, we have up to 27 amendments. Just the first 10 are the Bill of Rights. And 11 through 27 are very important as well. There are amendments or changes that have been made in the Constitution since the Constitution has been ratified. They are about slavery, the right to vote, the right to have alcohol or not. Okay, that's it. So let's start with the first branch, which is the legislative branch. And they are the ones that create the laws. They're made up of the Congress. Congress has 2 houses. They can declare war. They can coin the money. They can impeach public officials. They cannot create a law after somebody has already committed the crime, which would be the ex post facto law. The House of Representatives is the first house. Remember, it is bicameral, so we have 2 houses. First house is called House of Representatives, and that's determined by the number of people, the population of your state. There are 435 members, and the leader of this group is the Speaker of the House. Then the other house is called the Senate. There are 100 members, 2 from each state, and the leader of the Senate is the Vice President. Next, we have the executive branch. They enforce the laws. They consist of the president, the vice president, and then the cabinet. The cabinet is the 13-member people who advise or help the president make decisions. So the president has a lot of different duties. Some of them are that he can grant pardons, which means he can forgive criminals. President can be elected 2 times, so he would only serve a total of 8 years, 4 for each term. And one of the qualifications are that you have to be 35 years old. You have to be a citizen, meaning you not only a citizen, but you have to be naturally born in the United States. And those are some of the important ones. Next, we have the judicial branch. They interpret the law, so they get to decide what does the law exactly mean. And if, and that consists of basically our courts, our court system. So a person can be accused of a crime, then you would go to court, and you are allowed to have a lawyer there while you're being questioned. If you are convicted of a crime, and you believe that the law was unfair, or the judgment was unfair, then you can go to the Court of Appeals. And then there are a couple of types of cases. A civil case is something that is brought on by a person or a company. They're seeking to usually collect money. So it's brought on by one person, and it's that means you're suing somebody else. A criminal case can be brought on by your local, state, or federal government, and that means you have violated a law, and that is clear that some law has been broken. So the Supreme Court is the highest, most powerful court in the United States. They can declare a law unconstitutional, meaning that it does not comply with the Constitution. There are 9 judges or justices on the Supreme Court. The head is called the Chief Justice, and the judge serves for life. So it's not a term. They don't get reelected. A Supreme Court justice is a justice until they themselves seek retirement. So here we have the Constitution, which is the document that governs the United States government, and we have the three branches and the parts that make up the three branches. This is one of the entrance slips that we did. Next, let's study the Illinois government. And Illinois government also has branches just like the United States government. Our legislative branch consists of the General Assembly. The judicial branch have state judges, which are elected by the people, unlike the judges that are selected for the Supreme Court. Those are chosen by the president, and then they have to be approved by the Congress. But for our state, we, the people, elect the judges. And in order to vote in Illinois, you have to be 18 years old, you have to be a U.S. citizen, and you have to be registered to vote. The governor is the head of the state, and he enforces the laws, kind of like the president does for the country. And here is the chart that shows the differences between the United States government and the Illinois government. Now let's talk about the amendments. So these are laws that were not originally in the Constitution. The first 10 are Bill of Rights, and we currently have 27 since the Constitution was originally ratified in 1789. And they discuss some of these discuss the duties of United States citizens. We have the right to serve on a jury, we pay taxes, and obviously we have to obey the laws. So the First Amendment guarantees us the freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, which means that we have the right to meet, peacefully meet, and the right to petition. That means we can tell the United States government that, hey, we don't like something. We can write that down and give it to the government. So the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms, which are weapons. The Third Amendment is the right to refuse housing of troops. So if in time of war we cannot be forced to have troops living in our house. Fourth Amendment is the right of protection against unreasonable search and seizures, meaning nobody can just come into our house without a warrant and or any of our property and look through it and then actually take some of our property. And the fifth is that you have the right to remain silent, meaning that you don't have to speak and answer questions. Here is one of the other entrance slips that we did. How a bill becomes a law. This is a graph showing us that a bill can be introduced by a representative, and then it can be studied in the House of Representatives. And if the House of Representatives does approve it, then it does go to the Senate. If it's approved by the Senate, it will go to the president, and if he signs it, it is then a law. If he does not sign it, he vetoes it, then it can go back to the House and the Senate, but it needs to be approved by 2/3 of the Congress, two-thirds of the total people. So we have a system of checks and balance. That means that no one branch will get too much power. So the three different branches are kind of getting checked by the other ones. So the president can grant a pardon. Now, the president is part of the executive branch, and he can pardon or forgive a criminal that has been sent to jail by the court system, which belong to the judicial branch. So in that case, the executive branch is checking the judicial branch. If a justice declares a law unconstitutional, that means the Supreme Court looked at a law and they decided, those 9 justices, that, hey, this doesn't fit with our Constitution. So a law that was actually created and approved by the legislative branch has now been rejected. So in this case, the judicial branch checked the legislative branch. Also, we have a very specific election process, which is not as simple as you would think, and we have discussed this before. So, how an election works is that first we have a primary, and that's when the parties get to decide on one nominee from their party. And then once they've decided that, they have a convention and they officially declare one person. So the Republican Party will have a convention, the Democratic Party will have a convention, and they will choose out of all their nominees one person. And then you will have one person from each party running against each other. That's when the people will get to elect, and that's the general election where the citizens get to vote. However, the night of the election is when the Electoral College will actually decide who the president is. Popular sovereignty means that government power is in the hands of the people. Veto means to reject something, where a president can veto a bill. Pardon means to forgive. Reprieve means to cancel or postpone a punishment. Ratify means to pass or to approve something. So the Constitution was ratified in 1789. Inaugurate means to swear into office. The president had his inauguration in January this year. Impeach means to kick somebody out of power. So 2 presidents have been impeached. Amend means to change something or to revise it. Search and seizure means to look for something and then to take it. Enforce means to make something happen. Interpret means to judge or to find the meaning of something. Appoint means to put something in power. Ex post facto law means that Congress cannot pass a law that turns something into a crime after the crime has already been committed. So if somebody was to steal apples from a grocery store and that was not against the law, but the next day Congress says stealing apples from a grocery store is now against the law, well, I cannot be sent to jail because that law became a law after I had already committed that act. Delegated power means a power that's assigned to the national government. Reserve power means a power that is specifically assigned to only one level of government, like the state. So running schools is reserved for the state government to do.